Hey everyone, I'm your host Roddy Merritt.
And I'm Cody Russell.
And welcome to the SPACEMAN podcast presented by Merritt Productions. If you've ever wondered what really goes on behind the scenes of Merritt Productions, Mississippi's fastest growing production company and marketing agency, well, this is where we tell it all.
From creative strategy to cutting edge content, from high profile campaigns to the late night grind, this podcast is your all access pass to the world of Merritt Productions. We're talking stories, challenges, wins, and everything in between. The work, the people, the passion, this is how we make it happen.
Whether you're in the industry, on the grind, or just curious about what it takes to build a powerhouse brand, welcome to the SPACEMAN podcast.
Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to the SPACEMAN podcast. I'm Cody.
And I'm Roddy. And
go ahead. You can take that's all I got. You can take over.
we were like contemplating before we started recording, what are we going to say? But I guess that's the intro. Today, very special guest. Usually, Justin, I start off with story time of how we met. And I have been racking my brain about how we met. So I've got actually more than one story.
Okay.
So first story is when many moons ago, probably back in 2010 maybe, my band and I, our first gig that we played outside of church was at the skate park. And I am almost 100% certain you were working there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm almost 100% certain. And I never forget, we were so excited because we had only played as a little church band, and we'd been wanting to play outside of church. And we'd played outside of our church, but only at other churches. And so we were like, man, we don't want to just do the church thing. We want to expand or whatever. And I don't even remember how we got set up with it. I think it was actually my drummer booked the gig. And it was probably a girl he was dating or something like that. Somehow we got this gig and we walk in and we came in the normal way that most people do or whatever. And we come in, we come down the hallway and we've got all our crap and everything. And we walk up to the window and we're like, hey, we're the band. Where do we go? And you're like, y'all go down that way. And that was it. That was all he said. Man, it was right back to business. And then fast forward later, I cannot remember. You probably can.
I got you.
How we met, but I'm pretty sure through everything that we've done, it's probably mutual friends and things like that. I almost think it was through car show stuff. I may be wrong.
So what happened was you had come into the print shop because one of the hangar events was coming up.
Right.
And so you came through, you're telling us about the event, sponsorship opportunities and stuff like that. So that's the first time that I recall when we had met,
Yeah. So I know exactly how I knew about you is through social media. And I had just been seeing your stuff and I was just like, man, they've got a cool brand and I like what they're doing. And you just stood out from other companies doing what you were doing.
Sweet.
And I was just like, I think I want to work with these guys. So welcome to the podcast today. Tell everybody your name, who you are, what you do, and then we'll kind of jump into some questions and stuff like that.
No doubt. So my name is Justin Sebren. I am one of the owners of Lucid Ink. My business partner and I, Tyler Busby, we've known each other for 20 plus years at this point through skateboarding and stuff like that. We created the print shop some 3 years ago. What's real interesting is we already had experience in the print industry for a long time, and we both took an 8-year break from printing before we decided, all right, let's get back into printing. Let's go into business for ourselves. Let's do this the way we want to do it. And so that's what we did.
And so Lucid Ink is the name of the shop. And tell people, I guess people probably want to know, where'd that name come from? Because you weren't always Lucid Ink. I think when I met you, you were.
Yeah, we were Stewart Screen Printing. Yeah. So
what it was. Even know that.
Yeah. So what it was Stewart Screen Printing that exact location that we're in, they were a print shop there for 25 years. So they've been in printing for absolute ever, and they wanted to get out. They were offering, hey, we're going to sell the book of business with the equipment and all that. So that's when Tyler and I jumped in. We kept the name, I guess, right at a year. And then we decided, all right, it's time to make this ours. As time went on, you're seeing all the old stuff from, something that's not you. And we just start Xing things off nonstop. One thing, too, that I think is like super important to say about Lucid and what it is we're doing now is when we first got over there and we were Stewart Screen Printing, we kept all the pricing exactly how they had it. We had their clientele, all of that stuff. Within about 12 months, we eliminated like 98% of their clients.
Wow.
Just because it times were changing.
Mm-hmm.
Times were changing.
Sure. And so I'm going to just jump right into it. Like, where did the name Lucid come from?
Yeah, so it's funny because a lot of times when I tell this, you can see an initial reaction on someone's face, right? AI helped. So you see it on their face, but I don't think they fully hear it and process it right. So we knew that we wanted the word ink in the name. Mm-hmm. We saw some other guys, they got print shops in Colorado and stuff like that, and they had ink in the name. We're like, man, that's awesome because, you go back to 2007 when I got into the print industry, everything said screen printing. Mm-hmm. So as soon as we saw somebody else like use a different verbiage, it was like, oh man, that's actually awesome. We need to do that. So we knew that we wanted the word ink in there. And we ran an AI generator where the second word would be ink and then let it generate whatever the first word is. And as easy, that might seem like, oh, that's a cop-out.
Right.
You got to wait. No, hold on. This thing generated some 500 to 600 words. And I sat there and I went through every single word. Okay.
Wow.
I went through every single word multiple times and only 2 words stood out. One was Empire Ink and the other was Lucid Ink. And so as soon as I heard the Empire one, I was like, that's really sick, but it's pretty aggressive. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I was like, it's a little too aggressive, but it just sounds good. Mm-hmm. And then the moment you repeat Lucid Ink like twice, it was like, oh, yep, that's it.
Yeah. And I think that's great because you're right. I mean, used to, it just makes me think back to used to in the world. I just started watching Mad Men again and just like falling in love with it.
Oh, yeah.
And just seeing like all those, how things used to be. But for us too, and whenever the internet got started and Google become a thing, people used to name their business based off of Google search.
Yeah.
So that's why everybody that was a screen printing company had such and such screen printing in the name, because if you Google screen printing or T-shirts or whatever, if you didn't have that in the name, it wasn't going to pop up.
Right.
Now we know that's not how it works anymore. Thank goodness we can be creative again.
Yeah. I definitely make sure to like stress the point to people all the time. Like, yeah, this tool gave me options, but something still had to call to me. Right. You still had to have a gut feeling about something. And then the irony of the situation is you fast forward and people are like, oh, the name. Like, yeah, that's the one we went with.
Which Empire Ink would have been really, really cool because you could have done like, buildings and in your name and all that kind of stuff. And then now you're having to, we'll get into this too. Now you and I have had this conversation. And it's something I've been wanting to talk about, but you're like the perfect person I can talk about with it now, is you have a mascot.
For sure.
And so I want you to, one, tell what the mascot is, but two,
this should be good.
Why you chose it and why do you need a mascot?
Yeah. So the original process was just my Instagram was slam full of raccoon pages, just for whatever. I don't even know when it happened. I really don't. I don't know when it happened. Just all of a sudden, it's just raccoon reels after reels. And I'm like, man, these things are just hilarious. Start doing a little bit more research on it. You find out that a raccoon essentially has the cognitive level of a toddler. Like that's a little person almost. That's why they're so smart, using their hands, so cunning and all that type of stuff. So it worked out because Tyler, my business partner, he is from Louisiana. So his whole life he's been, called a coon ass growing up. I'm presenting the idea of like, yeah, what if we, I don't know, just use a raccoon, I guess. If it wasn't a raccoon, it probably would have been a rat or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm pretty sure there's an original photo that we just put a rat on
Nice.
like the start of the Facebook page.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was going to be something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's where the raccoon came from. And genuinely, I've got some pretty decent foresight for these types of things
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how to flow, right?
Yeah.
But it was completely off my radar of a mascot. Mm-hmm. In my head, I was like a logo, not like a mascot.
Yeah.
But then about a week after picking the raccoon and we knew it was the raccoon and we started putting it on stuff, I was just like, oh yeah, Disney's got that mouse,
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, cool, Michelin's got that tire dude, Hamburger
Right.
Helper's got
Makes
the
sense.
glove.
Yep.
Then when I started seeing it like that, I was like, okay, like that's actually kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I promise to you, every single day, somebody comes through the shop, they almost all use the same phrasing. So what's up with the raccoon?
Yep.
That's
you think,
it.
You think these bigger businesses have gone through the same process
For
too?
sure. Absolutely.
They're like, why is there like this?
Yeah, why is there a glove? Why is there this?
Yeah,
Why is there that?
exactly.
Big time.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, Disney did it, right? So we're
Yeah.
really like living in that. But that's the thing is like they did it by accident. They put the mouse in there, and because that was just the character that Walt had that he wanted to put in something, and then it become synonymous with their brand, right?
Yeah.
But it's true. I saw it mostly in car culture. And I've had business owners before that I've told them like, especially if you're trying to get into entertainment of some sort of entertainment value, you can't just do it with your face. I mean, you can. The people are starting to do it now, and they're cartoonizing their face or whatever. But that we get the same question, and it's the same identical answer. They're like, so what's up with the spaceman? Or
Yeah.
what's up with the astronaut? I'm like, well, I was trying to find something. I said, I wanted a mascot. I tell people straight up, it's like, I wanted a mascot. I was like, Gas Monkey Garage has the gorilla and all these other brands. If they have something that is synonymous with who they are, and usually the ones that have some kind of figurine that goes along with it, you remember it, right?
Yeah.
It's just a marketing tool. And I was like, so I wanted something that was kind of futuristic, kind of, we're digital, futuristic, scientific,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And I was like, I like flying and I like astronauts and they're cool. And I was like, that's where it came from, Spaceman. And now it's kind of like, we hadn't really done a ton of stuff with it, but I mean, we named a podcast after it. I've got little spacemen all over the office here. But it's the same thing. It's like people go, but they know that. They see that.
Yeah, big time.
That M that we've had on our logo, which we've changed it a few times because every time I turn around and change it, somebody comes back and they go, this company's ripping you off on Instagram. And then I'm like, well, yeah, because it's, there's a ton of M's out there. So that M was not special, but when you put the spaceman with it, now
No doubt.
it's recognizable. So when people see that spaceman, they're like, oh yeah, that's you guys.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that so much that you had that insight and that foresight to kind of run with that. And that's kind of like a little bit about like our friendship. That's kind of how it's developed, is you and I have connected on so many different levels of how similar we think, as far as like business and the future of business and where it's going and this, that, and the other. So I want you to kind of talk a little bit about, because you hinted at it earlier when you said, you came in, you had this company that was running for 25 years. They had the business, they had the book of business, they had clients, they had everything there. Most people would go, well, I'm just going to pick up and run with that too, but you didn't do that. You have transformed this business to the point that business is you've built a new business basically.
No doubt.
And so I want you to kind of talk a little bit about, why you did that, and then the mentality of what you're doing with that. In other words, like what I'm saying is why do that? But two, what are you doing with it now?
Yeah. Definitely the story of Lucid is a little bit sooner than that, and other adventures and stuff like that. I had a previous occupation. I moved away from Mississippi for 8 years, lived in 6 states during that time. I was super grateful for that opportunity. Like I gained just mad amounts of knowledge about value and things like that, because it was all construction sales. I'm doing door-to-door sales. Real quick on that, the funny thing about when I got hired for that position, they were like, yeah, we're going to get you to go out to these houses and you're going to do some inspections and take some pictures and then you make a bunch of money. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like an awesome idea. So first year I move up to Chicago to go do this. My first day of walking into the office, it's like a 25-man salesman meeting. I don't even know that I'm doing sales, right? And so it's a full-blown meeting. They're already like halfway through it by the time we got up there. And they just left it at like, yeah, you go out there, knock doors, and you knock 25 doors, and you make $3,000, and that's the job. They're like, all right, y'all get out there and get after it. That was it. I had absolutely no idea. I didn't know that I was about to be doing lead generation on foot, But great opportunity, because I learned a ton through that, being able to communicate with people like that a lot. But whenever you fast forward, eventually I got burnt out doing what I was doing. It was to the point that the money did not even matter anymore. I'm going long periods of barely working because I, quote unquote, don't have to, and things like that. But it's awesome because it was a little bit of a fall from grace story of coming back to Mississippi. Like anybody that talks to me in the day to day, I'll tell you I lived a drastically better life in those days, not being in Mississippi. And it's completely true, right? Just because I'm a little bit more fast paced and a lot of my interests were not here and so forth and so forth. But home was calling back to me, right? I'm bored with what I'm doing. And I'm like, all right, let's start rethinking about what it is I want to do. And so I decided to come back to Mississippi. Tyler and I talked about purchasing the shop. And when we decided to kick that off, like we were coming out with a plan, because I done learned, I had a lot of real wealthy clients and stuff. I mean, some of my clients, these dudes own pharmaceutical companies. Some of these dudes are working in, the oil industry where they're barely even telling me what they do. 3 Ferraris in the garage and stuff like that. So I learned a lot from just listening to those guys and the way they talk. Like you tell that dude you're going to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning and you show up at like 8:05. He is for real. Like, hey, you said you were going to be here at 8.
Yeah.
So through those types of interactions, it was like, all right, so like we need to run a print company that's tight. Like we need to get it all together. And we do, man. We spend every single day trying to do it better than the day before. And, you and I have had these conversations. At this point, we are playing you and I have talked about, the infinite game. Because what happened while I was out there and I was, making great money, I heard in a song, a Dizzy Wright song, he has a line. He says, it's not about the money, it's about what you can do with it. And so about that time that I'm hearing that line and my mindset is shifting, I'm like, hey, it'd be cooler to go to Mississippi, build a successful company, try to, be some type of aggressive lead of just getting out there and doing our thing no matter what. Get a bunch of people employed, get everybody paid good, get everybody happy, start looking into the other things of, all right, what other benefits can we do? What else can we do? Start kicking money off to charities and stuff like that. And then that process, it just kept snowballing.
Yeah. And that's, again, you and I, we see things so much alike. And I like when we have the differences too, but that's exactly the same path. I obviously didn't move off anywhere, but whenever I was traveling a ton out of state and seeing different things, I've always been the kind of person that I'm very observant. So I don't just I'm not just one of those people that's just like driving down the road, paying attention, make sure I don't run into people. I'm like observing things like, how could this road be better, or
No
why,
doubt.
what, and so everything is under like some kind of, analysis. But same thing. It's like it become a point where like when I walk, I mean, I had a great job. I had a job that I was in an office, I was in a desk, I had my own thing, I was making $50,000 a year at the time. I'd probably be making 65 or 70 now if I would have stayed there. Could have and it was easy. It wasn't a hard job.
Yeah.
I wasn't out like a lot of these guys that are just like grinding every day for 40 grand, digging ditches and stuff like that. I was sitting in an office. It was plush. And, I could have stayed there, had a pretty normal, easy life, just enjoyed my time, playing with toys and different things like that. But I was like, I want to do something different.
Yeah.
I don't want to just make money and go home every day and watch TV. I want to do something different. And it wasn't even about my name. It wasn't even about building something where I had my name on it. It was just like, I want to get to that point where you said, it's like, I can help other people. I saw so much talent being wasted, in an industry that I was working kind of in. And then at the same time, I was like, I also want to help people. How can I get to that point? How can I get to that point where I've built the business that I can then start helping people?
Yeah.
And it's that, if we talked about that infinite gain, is just like, I call it building a legacy, making a legacy of what you're doing. I've also, a lot of times I say future proofing stuff. People hear that and they don't really know what I mean by that. But it's one of those things where I have gotten to that point now where we're helping a lot of charities.
Yeah.
And not, I say that not to pat myself on the back, but I say that because that was one of the goals. As you're climbing up that ladder, you get to that point, and we're not doing anything major. Like, I'm not donating $50 million a year to charity.
Right.
But the stuff that we are doing for these charities is major.
That's awesome.
It's stuff that, sure, they could go spend money and do it, but it's like somebody's not going to go to a group like Fifth Squad, right, and cut a video for them and it mean as much as it means to me, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that we make a video and I turn around and watch it and I got to hold back tears because I care about those people, right? And so our heart and our soul go into it versus it just being a paycheck. And I see a lot of that in you. One thing I do want to talk about, and you mentioned that too, is we talked about how each day we get better and better and better. I want you to tell people, or if you you don't have to go super in detail about it, but starting a business is hard. But I would say buying a business and then transforming that business, especially the industry that you're in, where people don't know a ton about what you do and they just think you're just out there just printing t-shirts and stuff like that. I want you to talk about a little bit of the hardships and some of the challenges like that you've had to overcome, especially in the last year, because your business has grown and expanded so much. You've become so busy that I should just be honored that you're on my podcast because you're 90 to nothing. So I want you to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the truth is back to the infinite game. If no one has ever looked up game theory, I would highly recommend going to look up The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. The original theory is not of Simon Sinek's, but he's great at explaining it, right? An easy way to see it is very much the tortoise and the hare race. Like, that's what it is. So I've always said the same thing to people in different ways, but let's just talk business and money and stuff like that. Let's just say if your goal was to be a millionaire. If you were a millionaire at 35 or a millionaire at 45, what's the difference? Right? Like, we only process life for the right here, right now. I've lived so many lives in the past that I can barely remember, right? Because the only thing I'm processing is right now. And so with kind of, the infinite game mindset, go slow and do it right.
Yep.
One of the big struggles about the print shop that I think a lot of outsiders don't exactly understand is that part of what I am doing is I have to know all the angles, right? Like I can't assign someone, it's easy to just be like, oh, well, why don't you hire somebody? Cool, that's great and all, but there's a whole bunch of other steps that have to move at the correct pace and have the correct flow to them to get to that person. Because at the end of the day, like the amount of information that moves through the shop is wild, man. I mean, by lunchtime every day, I've probably had 25, 30 phone calls, another 15, 20 text messages. I leave the shop all the time. I'll have 7 emails. By the time I walk in the next door or the next day, I've got 35. So the processing of information is no joke. And that's why it takes so long to finally get somebody in the right position and things like that. We're super, blessed that right now in the shop, it is made up of me, my business partner, Tyler, known him 20 plus years, his sister-in-law. So it is his wife's sister. She is now our office admin in there. She is. She's awesome. My saving grace.
She's awesome.
Yeah, drastically. We got my brother in there. My brother's been doing print production for 12 years, And what's super interesting is my personality and my brother's personality is not very similar.
Not at all.
But one of the awesome things about my brother Chris is that he is on the details with production as well. I know that when he comes over there and he says, hey, we need this, he's not kidding. He's already been thinking on this and stirring on this. Like when he comes over there, he's like, hey, we need to do this, or hey, we have to make this happen. He's not joking, right? And then the newest addition is Tyler's 20-year-old son. So it honestly accidentally ended up as a family thing. Yeah, and it's all worked good now. Being like that, but back to the process of, putting information together, man, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. I would say that's one of the areas where you and I, we've shared a little bit of the similarities in growth that way, but obviously some differences. I haven't had a ton of turnover, but I've had some, and it's for me, it's been really hard to deal with that. I've taken it really hard, and but at the same time, it's opened a lot of doors. The first person that I had to let go opened up the door for Cody, and holy crap, and then it's been that was a game changer, but it was also like I don't think either one of us knew what was coming when he came on board.
I just needed a job.
Yeah, he just needed a job. I just needed somebody that knew how to take pictures and could film some, and then we both kind of knew how to post on social, so we were working that. But it was like we didn't really do anything. He came on in like June, and by September, we just had a ton of business out of nowhere.
That's awesome.
And I don't know. I would love to take credit for that and be like, oh yeah, man, I was out there hustling. But I don't even think I was hustling. I think we were just both consumed with how much work we had because we had so much work.
Yeah, I mean, it's just 2 of us.
But
the truth is that work pays off,
yeah,
whether you know it or not.
Sure.
That's the truth.
Yeah,
that's the truth.
Yeah, I just think the word got out.
Good.
And he had a reputation of doing what he was doing,
right.
and obviously he was helping promote the business. But that's what you want. You want somebody that's in there that they take pride in their work, they take pride in who they represent, what they're doing, and they have that like-mindedness of like, I could care less if my name was on that or not. I don't care if it says Merit Productions. I've talked for years, and probably it will eventually switch over to completely being M-Pros. The Merit Productions will go away.
I like M-Pros.
Yeah, I like M-Pros too. It looks cool. It's deep. It's neat. It's different. That sort of thing. And that's probably where it's going to go because that's what I want. I want people to think all of our team are experts.
Yeah.
And so now that's what we've got. We just added a new person, Tom, and he's already killing it. Like that's the thing is like you want those kind of people around you that, like you said, your brother's detail oriented and he's looking at everything. You're your business partner, that dude I come in and he is working. You don't see him sitting on his phone. You don't see him, he'll talk to you, but you're going to talk to him while he's working.
I was just about to say that.
And
spot on.
Yeah, I mean, he's driving that. You added Riley to the team, and I'm telling you, that was one of the best hires you've ever.
Super aware.
not only is she just like good at her job, but she's great for customer service. Like, she's just a doll to deal with, and she's going to follow up with you, and she's always going to be sweet, and she may cuss you out behind your back. I don't know, because you never see that side of her, right? And so I think you've built an awesome team.
We work internally so good together. I mean, we all float ideas. No one person is running the show by any means, right? We all float those ideas around nonstop, all the way down to, hey, should this shelf go right here?
Yeah.
I know I just drive them crazy because I'm doing that role I'm supposed to be playing, right? They're in the middle of a job, super important, client needs it right now. I'm like, everybody stop, let's come over here. Does this shelf need to be right here or over here? There's things I got to check off my list,
I never do that, right?
Right.
I never do that. Hey, come here and look at this for a second. Mm-hmm. Cody's like in the middle of, he's like deep into
editing like a 60-second commercial.
Yeah. Deadline is tomorrow. Hey, can you look at this real quick?
Yeah.
Just stop for just a second. Come look at it.
But no, what? And so, in regard to that processing information, like, it's super important for me to understand everything. And that's why I'm still 3 years later. I mean, I might have a shorter span here of when I'm trying to not have to handle all orders or whatever it be, but I got to know the details. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't, hire somebody to fix a situation if I don't even understand how the situation pops up and all that stuff. Like, no, I need a lot of experience with it, and then we can fix it.
Yeah.
And that is a very slow day-by-day process.
Yeah. One thing that you're super good at that I don't want to talk bad about myself, because people say I do that way too much, but I am not the best at this, is you are a stickler for process. And I want you to talk a little bit about that and why.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I have to tone it down even at the shop. And in my own life, I'm continuously trying to fix the processes, right? Like, look, you got to be able to do some real self-reflection here, right? How old am I? I'm 37 years old. I need to be in the gym, like all those things. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to live a better life by doing these things, and it is about systems and processes. And so I got into lean manufacturing. If no one knows what lean manufacturing is, you've got to check it out. Cody and I were just talking about it just a little bit, but essentially the Japanese invented the idea of lean manufacturing.
Right.
And it's about eliminating waste, eliminating steps you do not have to take. At the end of the day, like, we're in some version of manufacturing, right? Like, I don't know what category you'd put it in, but it's some version of manufacturing. And so what the Japanese discovered whenever they're creating these Toyota plants and stuff back in the day is, hey, so that worker right there is having to take 4 steps to get to that table. We could just scoot the table closer. Mm-hmm. And so it's all those little bitty details. And so what Cody and I were talking about a second ago is, when you really go down the rabbit hole of the lean manufacturing, you start realizing it's not just about work. Like, it applies in so many areas of your own life. And so, I mean, those processes are super important, because that's what's going to take you to the next level, right? And I think it's super important for us as Mississippians to understand you should want to go to the next level. And not to kind of derail the topic here or anything like that, but if you don't go to the next level, the place in which we live just could look so much different. Mm-hmm. I mean, right now, out-of-state investors are coming out here night and day, and they are sucking up property and everything else. And then what you get from that is they're disconnected with the way it actually works here. Rent is now 3 times more expensive than what it really should be, and all the problems that come from that. Now local businesses can't even find a spot. Mm-hmm. I mean, dude, at this point, some of these chain restaurants can barely afford their rents. It's ridiculous. Yeah. The only way to stop that is by going to that next level.
Yep.
So if you're not into systems and processes, you better get into systems and processes because life will come at you fast.
Yeah, and that's so true because I was just talking to a guy, like the guy that cuts my hair, and we were talking about a company that's going out of business, a local business going out of business, and we see it a lot, and we always want to. It's so funny because we were talking about it, and I said, do you know why? And he's like, yeah, the guy says he just wants to spend more time with his family, and I'm like, this is a dude that cuts hair, and I'm not saying people that cut hair are ignorant or inferior or anything like that, but like he's not a business owner, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in a sense he is, but for the most part, he books his appointments, he cuts hair, he's fantastic at it. That's why I've been going to him forever. You use the same guy, and but he recognizes it as a non-business owner. Somebody saying, yeah, I just want to spend more time with my family, and he goes, yeah, I just don't know if that's true or not, because he said, you'd think if it's a good business, if it's successful, you sell it. You don't just close it, right? And he was like, I think that he had this going on and that going on. I'm like, well, I'm glad you see that side of it, because for me, like I never see this man market or advertise, because I'm looking at it from those eyes. You're the same way. You're like, what did you do? How many times were you posting? Where are the videos? Where are the reels? Where are the things that people see you? Are you spending money on ads, or are you just going, hey, we've got a great product and we're in these great areas? What'd you do? And so it's one of those things where like you look at who's doing well and who's not, and you almost have to question. I question, like Chick-fil-A is a great example. We have a new Chick-fil-A here in town that is what, 2-3 miles at the most from
3 miles
from another one, and you go, is it really necessary? But you also think too, you don't see a ton of Chick-fil-A's closing every day. You know, the only ones you see closing are the ones that are not in the process of what a normal Chick-fil-A is. So we did have a Chick-fil-A that closed down, right? In this area, and it was not like the other Chick-fil-A's. You know why? It did not have a drive-through. And I was telling somebody that the other day. A buddy of mine, was my buddy Zach. He said, man, he said, I went to Chick-fil-A the other day. It took us like 15 minutes to get our food. And I said, why? He goes, I don't know. And I said, drive-through? And he goes, oh no, we went inside. I had to use the bathroom, and I was like, well, that's why. It's because they've made their drive-through so efficient.
Yeah.
You can literally go through a Chick-fil-A drive-through in about 9 or 10 minutes and have your food and be gone, versus inside is not as important. And that's, the one that closed here in town. That's the thing. But it goes back to that process. They have figured out the process of how to get you in and out. And the ones that are successful, and that's why you see them pop up everywhere. But those systems are very important. And when you figure those out, I think we are starting to define kind of our systems, and here in my office, and it's nice because we are starting to see a lot more growth. We're seeing, to me, more valuable growth instead of just tons of new clients. Now the clients that we're getting, and we're starting to streamline that, because we did have a guy that just plugged in out of nowhere, and he's figured the process out, and he's already got a sale within 30 days of working, and he's not even from this area.
That's phenomenal.
And I'm like, yeah, we figured that out. But it took a team effort too.
Good for y'all.
It took a team effort. It took me and Cody working back and forth to figure out, this is how you present to somebody, and this is how you work it out. There's some selling involved. Everybody's kind of different, but we figured out this piece of the puzzle. And what's great about it too is, not only did we develop it together, which I'm very proud of, but then someone else asked us, can you do that for my business? And we created that for their business. They used the same product, and then they got business from it. And I'm like, okay, lock that in. That works.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of that with you guys. I also think it's important whenever you have a good, healthy working environment, and everybody there is part of the process too. I think that that is important. That's something a lot of people don't see. They just think, oh, there's a process here. But part of that lean manufacturing is also you're making the employee be as efficient as possible, which in turn makes that employee happier, right? And I think that you guys are starting to see that too.
You bringing up that topic, some of the small things, I mean, they're small things, but they matter in the grand scheme of them. Let's just take where you put the scissors. Mm-hmm. We use scissors all day for various needs of cutting paper and you name it. And so all throughout the shop, I've got sections where scissors hang on the wall. I want the orange scissors over here. I want the green scissors over here. Color is no significance. It's just happened to be how it was when I set it up. But every day, that's the way that it should be. Because what I think a lot of people don't realize, let's say you come into work and you're already kind of having a rough morning or whatever it is. Now you got to get to work and you're like, dude, where's the scissors? That's where all the random cussing comes and the frustration. Hey, look, we can eliminate those types of things real easy. Mm-hmm. And then from that, you get better production, right? Now, just like you're saying, we're able to kick out stuff more and better time frames and yada, yada. It's like, yeah, that's why these systems are so important, because there's all types of stuff you're not thinking of that it can genuinely help you with.
Mm-hmm. So saying that, of course, every day is not a good day, and you have good moments, bad moments. Tell me about how you handle, because I feel like you get this a lot more than I do, and that's not a reflection of your business or my business, just the different types of people and how we interact with them, the different products we produce. But I know for sure you're one of the, you get a lot more of like, hey, where's my shirts at? Oh, yeah. Hey, I've been waiting a month. Hey, it's been 2 months. Hey, I tried to text you. Hey, I tried to call you. I tried to email. How do you navigate that?
It is very tough. So back to the traveling thing, I spent a lot of time in the Midwest. I spent a lot of time in the Northeast. People communicate in very specific ways. Your average person communicates in very specific ways. It's a lot more straightforward and it's easy to understand, right? So of course, we have to deal with, some types of issues of like, hey, we sent you a digital proof, and on the digital proof, it says, we need you to double check this. We need you to read everything, make sure it's spelled right. Hey, we can't be reliable for anything past this point. We understand that this is what you want. And they're like, yep, looks good. Let's go ahead with it. And then later they're like, hey, that word's misspelled. That's why we put the systems there, so that stuff is super hard. It's super hard to deal with. And honestly, we actually have 2 jobs to not even tooting our own horn here, but we really do not have a lot of issues. Okay. We genuinely do not. But in the past 2 weeks, we've had 2 different jobs that incorrect proofs were approved. Mm-hmm. And so now it's like, okay, I get it. I understand why, the client just said, yep, that looks good. Let's go with it. I understand it. I mean, people are excited. They're ready to see their logos on stuff. I understand. So now it is about talking with the team of like, okay, so are our digital proofs as efficient as they can be? There's a lot of words on our digital proof. So what if we instead move some of those words, let's drop them all to the bottom, make it a genuine fine print. Mm-hmm. It might not be getting read right now anyways. You know what I mean? We'll make it a fine print and then extra big at the top. Hey, you have to double check over this stuff. You know what I mean? So as those problems come up, you just figure out new ways to rearrange it. And then, the thing is you keep going until you find the method that works, right? I mean, for a long time now, our proofing system has been working good and we haven't had any errors. But then when you have 2 errors pop up in like a 2-week time frame for whatever random reason, it's like, all right, let's readdress now. How can we make the proof a little bit better than it is right now? That goes back to the every single day.
Yeah.
How do we do it better than the day before,
Yeah. I think that's important because that's how I live my life every single day.
Yeah.
And then it's super frustrating and disappointing a lot of times whenever I don't meet that expectation of it's more whenever I feel like I get to a point where I go backwards. It's like you get used to, like right now it's like we're like a freight train. Like it's just like this season has been, I mean, we've not had a big strong summer like this since he started 3 years ago. And then now like this has been the strongest summer we've ever had. And I'm like, oh wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
You know, but it's also at the same point, it's like in my brain, I don't want to get too excited because I'm so used to like getting ahead, and then something happened and having to take a step back and then, you know, continue forward. It's I know that's part of life, but at the same time, whenever you're so hyper focused on making everything better, it can be frustrating and disappointing. And
the truth is I mean, no joke, probably one of our biggest setbacks within the print shop is me.
same.
It is me, because I genuinely want to help everybody that reaches out. I mean, sometimes, you know, like somebody's like, hey, I just need 2 shirts. And I'm like, well, you know, I know we shouldn't, but maybe. And before it's all said and done, man, absolute nightmare of a time.
Right.
But, you know, I wanted to hook them up. I wanted them to be taken care of and all that stuff. And so I'm constantly learning to, you know, let go of the reins a little bit and stuff like that, because Riley's so much better than I am at just being like, hey, look, I'm not doing anything until this proof is approved.
Yeah.
Me, I'm like, oh, we'll go ahead and order the shirts. They're definitely going to get those navy shirts. And then they get the proof and they're like, man, this would really look good if it was on a red shirt instead. Oh, cool. Now I'm paying restock fees to send it back, you know, like I'm just terrible at that stuff, you know?
Yeah. So we got I'd say about 10 more minutes. I want to talk one thing, the question I want to ask you, I guess it's kind of the hard question. For me, it would be a hard question. When's it enough? When's enough enough? What's the cap? What's the, you know?
Well, it depends on what the thing is that is being filled or the fulfilling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, whatever the goals are.
What you're pursuing.
Yeah, because the thing is there's no question about it that I'm going to start another company. I want to start a construction company. Been wanting to do it for a hot minute.
Yep.
It is going to happen. And so the thing, though, with me personally, back to the previous job and the type of money that I was making in my previous job and stuff like that, giving stuff away is awesome. It's just awesome, right? And I'm actually glad that you asked that, because earlier we were kind of talking about the charity situation, right? And I'd like to tell this story. When the tornado went through Rolling Fork, a lady reached out to us. She's like, hey, I'm from up there. I want to do 100 T-shirts, and I'm going to give these away to people that are working, cleaning up. So we're like, okay, so we just super discounted, almost down to cost, you know, and we get them printed up and we send her on her way. We were already internally talking about, hey, we need to do a fundraiser shirt that a lot of the proceeds can go towards that. About a week later, she reaches out to me and she's like, hey, people are asking me nonstop to buy this shirt. Like, what can we do? And I was like, well, we were already interested in a fundraiser shirt. You've got such a good design. If we can use that design, we can handle everything else, and we'll start stroking money off to organizations up there, right? She's like, cool, let's do it. So I want to say it was like a month, if not just barely more than that. We did over $10,000 in sales for that event, right? People are buying this shirt left and right. And what we did is we take all the money, we subtract out the raw cost of what everything costs to actually print. And Lucid Ink kept some profit, because we have to exist as a company. Yeah. It's, you know, you got to understand that. But when it was all said and done, it was something like we cut a $4,000 check to them and we kept 2 or 3. I genuinely don't remember which one it is. But no matter how you do the math, that's good business, right? We're not interested in the majority. We want the money to go up there. But I say all that because back to the, what are your goals and things like that, man, there are so many ways that money can easily be kicked back to good, righteous organizations within the Jackson metro area, and we're super interested in how to make that type of stuff work, right? Like, there's just so many ways you can do it. So if that is part of what your goal is, then there might not ever be enough, right? Because it's super rewarding. You're never internally going to feel any better than when you help someone that's at a disadvantage, right? We're all a bunch of skateboarders, been skateboarding forever, and through Skate MS years and years ago, I don't even remember how long this is, 15 years or something. Skate MS got a bunch of skateboards and helmets and stuff like that, and donated it to a kind of a kids after school program that was in the Midtown area. And so my buddy Frank Henn helped set all this stuff up. He knows all these organizations and things. And so we go out there and we're teaching these little kids how to skate, and they're wearing their helmets. They see us wearing helmets, so they think that, it's all cool now. Got tons of good photos of it and all that. The dead moment I left that place, I busted out crying, pulling out of there. You know what I mean? Because those kids were stoked on it, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody comes through for you like that. You know what I mean? Not most of the time. So therefore, if you are interested in being like a company that is interested in those types of things and can pursue that type of stuff, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah. That's a great answer. Because it's true. It's just like, because I had a guy one time ask me that. He was like, what are you doing all this for? And I couldn't answer him because there's so much.
Yeah.
There's so much. It's not a happy or unhappy or content, not content type thing. I've got other businesses and stuff I want to do, but at the same time, it's like I look around and I'm not one of these people. I'm not super hard on people going, this is the problem and you're the problem and this needs to be fixed. And I'm one of those people where I'm about action.
Yeah.
It's like, I see all these problems within this city or this society or this country or whatever. And I'm like, I can spot problems in it, but also I can go, what could I do? Well, I could do this. Oh, I would love to do that, actually. Yeah. And so that's kind of where I'm at. My next question for you is, and I know you get a lot, or I would assume you get a lot of this, but everybody wants a part of you, and they want priority in your life. I know I get that a lot, where it's like, I've had times where I've sent Cody or Andy out to a job. I bid it. I told them, yeah, we'll come shoot it, blah, 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 put it together, and then I don't show up. And they're like, man, you didn't show up. Or they don't even want to talk to someone else in the business. They want to talk to you, right? How do you deal and navigate that if everyone's like, hey, I got a $10,000 t-shirt order, I want to be first in line, and then they don't want to talk to Riley, they want to talk to Justin. You know what I'm saying? How do you deal with that because I'm assuming you probably deal with that on a regular basis where everybody wants to be number one, they want to be important.
I'll tell you in regard to like trying to get directly to me, it doesn't pop up a ton.
Really?
I'm not like being requested or anything like that. But
that you know of.
yeah, right. But one thing that has recently worked pretty good is, all right, you want my attention. We've created this online form. If you fill out the online form, you will get my attention, right? Like, there you go, because that form is there for a very specific reason, because it populates within our system, and now every single day when we come into work, we see you within the system, and now the question, we ask ourselves, hey, did we contact them? did we do the things that we were supposed to do for them?
Mm-hmm.
So, me sending out those links to a lot of people that contact me in the day-to-day, that's been a great way of just, getting through who directly wants our attention and who doesn't. Because it's like, look, I mean, if you can't take 40 seconds out and fill this thing out real quick, then do you really want to talk to me?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's been a great way to kind of do that. But again, Riley is phenomenal with communication.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure people probably want to talk to her more than me now at this point, because she's on it. She's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of how I feel now that we've got Tom here, is because, in fact, it's a funny situation where the account that it's not a done deal, but we got a verbal commitment at least, but the thing is the account that he got the verbal commitment from is an account that a few years ago I tried to get, couldn't get, and so he actually approached me about it, and he was like, he's telling me he's talking to him and everything, and I didn't say a word until he got more involved, and I went, we tried to get them a few years ago, and he goes, oh, now you tell me. It was like I wouldn't have wasted my time. I was like, no, that's what I want you to do.
No doubt.
I don't want you to know who I've worked with. I don't want you to know who I've tried to get. I want you to go speak to them, and if you can land them, better on us, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like. I feel like that, different people, different folks for different strokes kind of deal.
Yeah.
But
see, that's what like building a good company is all about, though, right?
Exactly.
Like, you build a good company and you get the right people in place. It doesn't matter who they talk to over here. You're good. You're going to be taken care of. You know?
Yeah. So, final thing I kind of want to address, because it lands on both our doorsteps, is the creative side. You come up with some personal brand stuff, like the T-shirt you're wearing now, and the other one that I loved was the King Kong, but you replaced King Kong with the raccoon.
Yeah.
That was a killer design. Maybe get Cody's input on this, but how do you navigate, or how I mean, at the end of the day, we I think it's not a super hard struggle, but there's times where we want to be super creative, right? We want to give people us and how we do things, and then it doesn't happen a lot. Especially happens a lot less now than it used to, but it still happens, and throughout the day to day, we deal with people that just, they don't trust the vision, they don't trust the design process, they don't, they want what they want, and you're just like, but I know that's not going to work, it's not going to look good. How do you deal with that creative side versus business?
The funny thing is I will also be willing to bet you that anything that's in my inbox right now that's been in there longer than it should have been is because I'm trying to give my input into it as well. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, some people come through and they genuinely give you a lot of information on what they want. And I could, just turn that over to the design team. They knock it out and boom. But the second I have like I kind of want to see it this way, I'm going to wait to address this myself. And then it just lingers on and it gets worse and worse and worse, But at the end of the day, I mean, we've got a lot of good people that we work with, different artists and stuff. So a lot of people are just thrilled on some of the first time things that we send over to them, like we don't do a ton of logo rebranding and stuff like that. That's not what we do. We don't even know how to charge well for it and all that type of stuff, because it could be super, super tedious. But the few that we do, people are really stoked about what they get, So I guess we've just been super fortunate that people have been happy with some of the stuff that we've sent over. We haven't had a super hard time with it. But the idea of me personally wanting to be extra creative and everything,
right?
Yeah, I gotta chill that out sometimes.
How do you feel about that?
I think he makes a good point. I haven't been in this creative side of business for super long. My main goal was to just play soccer for as long as I could. Picking up a camera and being behind a computer and all that stuff was pretty irrelevant to me. until about 5 years ago. But it's cool to see that the creative process will linger and piss you off, even if you're in your 30s, this long. But I think you've spoken pretty well on that you've just got to find a balance. And once you establish yourself, people will still come your way and realize that your talents are better than what they can think of. And no harm, no foul, but they're paying you for the business, and they've got to trust your input too. So
sweet. Well,
nice.
Thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Sorry it took me so long to get out here, man.
No, it's all right. I feel like next I'm gonna have Trump on here because he's the only person that's harder to get to like stop working and come do something.
Hey, but legitimately, back to the every single day getting a little further.
Mm-hmm.
For the past 2 days right now, actually today will be the third day. I feel like it's the most that I have internally assigned task to other people.
Nice.
Even when those easy things come through, like, I can knock this out about 45 seconds. No, I'm just tagging somebody else in it. Like, all right. So, I'm hoping to get a little bit more in my free time. So, I mean, because I got to have it. The other things I'm super interested in us doing as a company, like, I got to be able to move around.
So, real quick, before we go, tell people if they want to know more about Lucid Ink or they want to inquire about your services or find out more about you and this, that, and the other, because apparently you're not on ChatGTP, but you're a business partner.
Yeah, no doubt.
Tell people if they want to get in touch with you, or they might need your services, how they get in touch with you.
Yeah, I would highly encourage you to check out our Facebook page at Lucid Ink Printing. Go there. We post on that stuff daily, so you can keep up with a lot of the cool stuff that we're doing. If you want to ask for a quote and things like that, you can go to lucidinkprinting.com. We are also on Instagram, Lucid Ink Printing. If it's Lucid Ink Printing, you're going to find us in some type of way.
Yeah, and that's Lucid Ink, I-N-K.
I-N-K. Hey, sorry, I mean, we'll sit here and do this all day. But a funny thing is when we were stewards and I would give the email out all the time, I'd be like, it's Stewart's Print, and I'd only make it so far, and people would be like, is that an STU or an F? So I had to deal with that all the time. When we got the new Lucid Ink now, I'm like, awesome, perfect. Except
it's
ink
the same
can
problem.
be I-N-K.
Yep.
And to be honest, I think a lot of people kind of think that one off the rip, and it's like, man, I just couldn't get past that one.
Well, Justin, thanks again. I'm super excited to have you here. We're excited to work with you. We'll have some other cool stuff in the future, obviously, and see where things go.
Yeah.
So thanks, buddy.
Thank y'all for having me, man.
Yeah.
Y'all keep knocking it out.
Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. See you in the next one.
Bye.